So first off, just some background with why me, why am I so involved with the museum with this project? So I have been involved with the Mobile Museum of Art in many capacities from throughout my lifetime. I started out here actually as a student at art camps in high school, and I had artwork at the time when the museum was coordinating the Visual Arts Achievement Program. It's now a program of the Arts Councils. I had artwork on display here for that competition in high school, and that really enabled me to envision myself in a professional setting as an artist, and took me, to taking that as a very serious thing that I wanted to pursue in college. I had some work on display during the Art and Design of Mardi Gras exhibition that was here 2014 through 2015. I was not credited for anything that I did, but it was a lot of group work. I worked for Ron Barrett doing Mardi Gras set design for years, and some of the things I helped paint and create with paper mache were included in this big wall right here pictured. I had the pleasure of participating in Do It. Who got to see Do It when it was here upstairs? Yes, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Elizabeth Elliott, who's now with the Alabama Contemporary Art Center, roped me into doing 2 different projects with Do It, and that was in 2018. So one of them, and I'll show you pictures of those, was on behalf of the Mobile Arts Council, and another one was a solo project, and also had a small little diorama upstairs for children called The Green Room. So I'll show you these real quick. So here were the Do It projects. This one, there's a silhouette of a person sketching. The prompt was to create a project around doodling. So at Art Walk, which we have a community gallery downtown, we had different members of the community doodle at a couple of the art walks, and then we put them up here. And then there were the little doodle notepads available for anyone who came to the museum to add to the wall, and they ended up like this at the bottom by the end of the exhibition. And then also I had a project which was to make art for animals and make them smile. So I made about a 10-foot cat tower, which was very precariously balanced, with some life-size ceramic cats that I made, and that was on display in here. And then you can see there's my cat Basil. When I got to take it home, I took the top tiers off because it was legitimately hazardous, but the cats enjoyed it for a long time afterwards. And then if you've been upstairs for children, you'll see this is in the green space, and this is the green room, and the things all in this room start with a G. So you've got Van Gogh and Gauguin paintings on the wall. You've got globe lights with gold fixtures. You've got green guitars, gerbils, a gecko, a grasshopper eating grapes and Gouda. So after all that, I've had lots of opportunities to get involved here at the museum, and it's just been a wonderful experience. And on December 30th, 2019, Deborah Velders, the previous director, emailed me, and the title was Yet Another Artist Challenge for You. It's like, ooh, okay, it was the day after my birthday. It was a very exciting email to get. And she wanted to create some kind of installation inside of the art theater downstairs, which is a very odd space. Before how it is now, there used to be like a privacy type wall because they used to project movies in the space, so to keep the light from when the doors open. It was painted solid black. It's shaped like an egg with the top shaved off, so it's a really peculiar space, not very big but very tall. So we wanted to create some kind of installation that would be very exciting for children to engage in. So I worked over the upcoming month to create a proposal and sent that, and it was tentatively approved depending on funding. So we were very excited about that, and then March 2020, the COVID party starts raging and everything's put on hold. So I really didn't think the project was going to move forward. But come January 2021, the project is back in the picture, and we got to move forward, and I got to put together an artist team and budget and all that fun stuff. So here you'll see a picture. That was the last show that was in there before the forest, a Reflectorama by Bob H. Miller, and you had flashlights, and all these pieces were made with reflective, like street type materials. So it was a really fun show. So here was the initial proposal that I put together, and you'll see a lot of things did change drastically based on that. You have Fun Forest, actual name to be determined. So it's to be like a mural of darkened, blurred forest behind partially 3D relief trees. I had knots with peepholes, which none of the trees have secret knot peepholes, but that was a fun thing we joked about doing, a gentleman's club in a tree, which of course we never would have done that. But the skink hole was a joke that, never transpired, of course, but we always laughed about that. Of course, we have the doors with the dioramas behind them, which was inspired by the green room project that I had the opportunity to do in 4 Children. Large rocks, and kids punching bags made into large flowers with foam petals, which kids punching flowers is just hilarious. It's such a bad idea. And then the floor to be covered in grass like AstroTurf. So yes. And then I wanted to have like a custom-made thing in the center of the room. We really wanted to take advantage of the height of that room to maximize really utilizing the space. And I originally envisioned making these interactive birds on like a pulley type system that would flap. And initially, whenever I had submitted this proposal the year before, I was planning to work with another artist, who I'm not going to say who it is, whose work lends more towards this kind of cartoonish style and does like really great, like beautiful paper mache work that I was planning on having to do the birds, but we ended up not working together. So that's part of the reason why that changed. But I wanted to have maybe a spiral staircase, which was something that Deborah pitched initially as an idea, and then maybe a slide on the other side encapsulated by trees. But that was a little complicated, and having a custom structure was potentially a lot more expensive and just an ordeal in general. So these are just pictures I included based on a mural that I'd done. I never intended for the trees to be like this squatty, but maybe a little more cartoonish like this in the initial proposal. So you can see all sorts of animals engaging and interacting. I learned to punch flowers at the Mobile Museum of Art. Yeah, that's not, yeah. Ben and Vanessa was like, that's a terrible idea. I was like, okay. There was a lot of back and forth with installation names. The Fantastical Forest ultimately is what was chosen, but these were some of the other things that were proposed. Some of them was like, I don't even, like, that's crazy. Fantastical Forest, the Magic Forest, Eco Fun House, Trees and Critters and Art Adventure, Eco Art Tree, Eco Lopsicality, Eco Art Zone, and Botanimo, which is Botanical Animal Mobile. I liked Botanimo, but nobody else did. They hated it. And you can see here, if you haven't seen the installation, this was the beer pong squirrels with their acorns and basket. Okay, so I hated making these clouds. So the first things that we had to complete were the things that were the highest in the room that might require using the museum skyjack, because we couldn't get the tree house built, flooring put in, anything like that until the skyjack was out of there. So we had to do the clouds and the trees first. And I watched some YouTube videos on people who make like these little clouds for, their kids' rooms. I was like, oh, that's going to take me like 2 days. I'm going to get all these clouds done. And YouTube gave me way too much confidence, and I made some clouds and, used paper lanterns, LED light strips, fiberfill wire, hot glue, and spray adhesive, and they looked awful. They looked what we refer to them as Zeus's turds, because they just looked like flaming turds in the sky, and they had to all be redone. So this was a second go, and they're much better, and I had to make so many more than I originally thought I would need to for it, and I had to make a lot and then layer them together. And initially we were going to have the light that's in there, which has a very strange light bulb. I don't know what it is, but it gets insanely hot, and it's like an all or nothing, and it's very bright. And Deborah did not like it and said didn't translate as a sun, so it was like, okay, we will not use it. So we had to cover that up and redo lighting, and then it ended up being like this at the end. So transition from day to night. And the lighting in there, if you went tonight, isn't quite right because we're in the process of changing up some things. But yeah, this was the end of the clouds, and I never want to make a cloud again. Never want to do that. So the trees were mostly Ben and Vanessa because that's their bread and butter. They do the float building for a living. But those started with a wooden framework inside for stability for the branches, as well as housing all of the dioramas that go in behind the doors. So I cut up and put together all the framework for the trees and mounted those to the wall. And the first layer of the trees is made using recycled cardboard. I don't know if you guys have seen the process of float building before, but it's covered in green glue, which I have no idea what that is, but it's a special adhesive used by float builders that they apply to big sheets of cardboard, and then they let it dry, and it stays tacky and it adheres to itself really well without getting goop all over you. And that is what they use to make the floats. So cut out the framework, and then Ben and Vanessa completed all the cardboard layering, and then the final construction step is to layer brown tag paper over the cardboard, and then the trees were painted with latex paints and then sealed with varathane. So that's kind of the starting stuff. Lots of wood. Oh, and I got to cut a lot of this stuff just beside the education wing. Because of COVID, there wasn't anything happening in education, so we just trashed like the whole education wing for a few months. But yeah, you can see Ben, and if you see on top of him, he has these strips of cardboard, and I do not know how people do this because I did it for like 20 minutes and I hated it. And you're just ripping cardboard like this for hours, and I don't know, you got to have strong hands to do that. It's really hard work, and it really makes you appreciate the float building process when you realize that it's them ripping these tiny little 1.5-inch strips of cardboard and layering them. But yeah, you can see, and it's really beautiful before they put the tag paper on it, just with the green. It's just really interesting. But you can see this is kind of how the design works with we had to have it where the front of it could be removed in case light bulbs burned out, in case something fell or something like that, and we needed to get inside of it rather than completely sealing it. So just figuring out the mathematics and logistics behind that was also a learning process. So yeah, we underestimated the thick overlap. Ben and Vanessa built all that green glue out, and then it overlapped where I had my cutouts. So then I had to cut all of the door pieces that fit in these after they'd already been covered with the cardboard. So that was not fun. I had to re-drill all the holes in the mounting for those. So that was a learning process. All of this was a learning process. I'd never done anything like this before. And the canopies, I did all the canopies for the trees, and they're chicken wire frame, green gilly cloth, which you'll see like at hunting camps, and then fake oak leaves, which we ordered in bulk from China. And then there are real sticks that were inserted at the tops of the high branches to make them look more realistic, and it's a lot easier than making sticks. And lighting was installed inside the trees from the top down. There were outlets all along the top of that room. So I had extension cords put down and then obscured all of those with the canopy so you can't see any of the outlets, and funneled those down through the trees, and had to get inside and mount LED lighting all on the inside and then paint them. So this is the group's favorite picture, is me being consumed by the tree. And then this is what it looked like before we had, the dioramas inserted and then the doors put over. So you see Vanessa there, and then the chicken wire, which also really just, so much of this was really not enjoyable. But by the time it was done, I was like, yeah, this is great. But, it was just hard work. I'm just like covered in cuts from chicken wire and standing on one foot on the top of like a 12-foot ladder and being, but it got done. And yeah, lots of stapling to the wall in there with the chicken wire. But it was fun once it was over. It was, yeah. And then here was like one of the first completed, canopies with me in my pumpkin shirt. And then you can see here more of the completed work and some of the ghillie cloth at the bottom, which worked out really well. So murals and lighting. The murals reflect different times of the day and various types of foliage found in our area, and commonly found plants including camellias, azaleas, cast iron plants, elephant ears could be found on the wall, as well as pitcher plants, oak trees, pine trees. And Ben and Vanessa, especially Ben, did a lot of the mural work. He is a phenomenal painter. He just impresses me so much. He's really, really talented. And it would not have looked like that if I'd headed it up, which I also paint murals, but our styles are very different. So I was very glad to have Ben, because he really gave it that airy, magical quality. And I have no idea what it would have looked like if I had done it. So the mural transitions tonight and has moving fireflies projected on it on the back. And it was created by airbrushing and hand painting with acrylic latex paints. And they do a lot of the airbrushing with the floats, so that was another thing he brought in from the skill set from float building for that. And then at the end, I had colored LEDs strategically mounted throughout the room, all over the top of the tree house that was put in there, as well as throughout the trees and behind some of the clouds. So there's just some pictures of some of the mural, which, it's in the room, so we can go check it out, of course. And some details on the trees too, that, the mushrooms and things which Vanessa did. You see camellias there, which of course, Botanical Gardens is a really fantastic camellia collection over there. It's got hydrangeas, cast iron plants. I mean, those are, walking through downtown, midtown, you're going to see the cast iron plants around the oak trees. And like I said, we really wanted things that would resonate with local folks. So, and then the floor in the tree house. So the tree house, just a prefab tree house that was from Sam's Club or Costco, one of those. And it was constructed by the museum staff, which we were very appreciative to not have to do that, and relieved because we didn't really trust ourselves to do that either. And once that was constructed and put in place, they had to get different flooring, because it was essentially like a concrete floor with a very thin carpet on it. And, we were very concerned that someone was going to hurt themselves. So special padded flooring was ordered, and it delayed the opening of the exhibition by about 5 months, because everything especially at that time, took so long. There were so many delays in ordering anything specialized. And there was a tree house. I've mounted lights all over it. And then it had that spiral slide around the side. So it finally opened on May 31st, 2022. And here are some school children interacting with it. it's been so much fun, like children just approaching me like, "Are you the forest lady? Can I get a picture with you?" I was like, yeah, let's do it. Thank you. So it's just been so sweet. And, it's been interesting and a learning process, this whole thing about, you're mixing very delicate, kind of detailed fine art, and then you got this big playhouse in the middle. So is that the best thing to do? So now, based on what we've observed over the past year, the treehouse has been removed from the Fantastical Forest because it encouraged very spirited behavior. The children would see the playhouse and immediately, we're running around, we're getting crazy. And, there were concerns that if we were to have this open to the public all the time, no security looking in at this when people are in it, that things might get destroyed. Which is like, just let them destroy it and I'll fix it. Let's see how it works. But we don't want that to happen. So our team is currently working on redesigning something new for the center of the room that will slow down visitors, encourage them to observe the room, to really focus on all the details of what's there. And we're also planning with the staff an educational, like, scavenger hunt type activity, so that when people come in, they have something to look at, things to look for, so that they'll direct directly learn from the things in the exhibition, and then, you know, that'll slow people down also, and then they'll have learned something by the time that they leave. And by the end of the year, we're hoping to have the Fantastical Forest open to anyone who attends the museum, so you don't have to make a reservation. But we need money for that, so if anyone here is interested in, you know, in helping fund doing improvements, you know, we're thinking it may be around $5,000 or so to add. We want to add a small little raised bridge, maybe a tree in the center, and a slight resin pond water type feature around the bridge. So it would be really beautiful. It would add a lot. It would take away the, you know, hopefully take away the desire to run around and be crazy and all that stuff in the space. So pray for my sanity while we get that all done. And if you guys know anyone who might be interested in sponsoring that, please let the museum know. But does anybody have any questions?